Jim Crockett Jr. took over the operation of the company following his father's death in 1973, and he would be reliant on mainstays like Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Blackjack Mulligan, Jay Youngblood, Barry Windham, Roddy Piper, Wahoo McDaniel, and many others. Coming into the company, were you familiar with a lot of these big name wrestlers?
I'd heard about them, but I didn't know them.
Okay, you had never been around these guys.
No,
Interesting.
no,
Okay.
none of them.
Now, these are guys who originated in multiple territories, much like yourself, and they're all coming together here under Crockett's banner. Did you view these guys as some of the best in wrestling at the time?
Yeah, definitely.
So coming in the door, like anybody in particular, you're like, I really want to work with this guy.
Well, it wasn't Wahoo.
So interesting you should say that because I've heard some things about young guys working with Wahoo over the years. What can you tell us?
He beat the shit out of you, man. You go to the ring with him, and the first thing that happens is you get a great big handprint on your chest.
Oh no.
By the end of the match, blood blisters have come up, and he's busted them.
Holy shit.
So your chest would be bleeding. Nothing fun about that, bro.
So he was one of those guys who really like to get you in the corner and chop you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like so he's a veteran at this point and very very well respected of course by everybody. You're just a young guy. I'm curious, like when somebody's doing that and really kind of going off on you in the corner, is it one of those things where you're like, "Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of my own back," or how do you handle
Yep.
it?
I get some back.
Okay.
I get some back.
So, like when you're doing that with a guy like Wahoo, is it like you just kind of push him off? Like, is it communicated, or you just push him off into a corner and just go to town on him?
Go to town on him, bro.
It's an interesting culture because you'd think that like a guy, well-established guy, would be fucking pissed if some young guy's pushing him around the ring trying to get him back,
No,
but they probably
no.
respected you, right?
He respected it.
So your time in Mid-Atlantic is prior to Crockett having the number one territory, but Crockett was serving as the NWA president in 1981. He is known, this is Jim Jr., he's known as being a really hard-nosed negotiator and businessman. What were your early interactions like with him?
They were rough, man.
Yeah.
I didn't fit in there. You know, I was one of those guys that I was on the B team.
Mm.
I was my main event on the B team. And that's the way it was the whole time I was there. One of the cities that was one of their best drawing cities was Richmond, Virginia. And I guarantee you in a year, I was only there twice.
Really?
Yeah, out of a year. That meant I was in Charleston, South Carolina, which is not a fun place to be.
What was wrong with Charleston?
The lack of fans.
Ah, okay. So negotiations, obviously, it was more like set up for you by Bill Watts for you to come over there,
Right.
and you're talking about lack of fans, which I assume means that there were no guarantees at the time. It was like you make based off the
There,
house.
there was a guarantee, but I think it was $40.
$40,
Yeah.
like per match,
Yeah.
and then they pay you based on the house.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds
You know,
shitty.
in all fairness, I wasn't ready for a big territory like this. I had never negotiated anything. I had never had to go in and talk for my job.
Mm-hmm.
I just went to some place and went to work, and there you needed to be in that office a couple days a week. Brown knows it.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't good at that by choice.
So the guys who were showing up at the business on off days and just chit chatting with Jim or David or
Right.
whoever, those were the guys who were well positioned.
That's it.
Interesting. So now, as you are coming in, had you talked to Jim Jr. at all before arriving there? Or is it your first time
Nope.
meeting him when you get there?
First time meeting him when I got there.
And there was no talk of money prior to that?
Nope.
Oh man. Yeah, that's I mean, you're kinda hamstrung where it's like you're showing up in the territory you've already moved, and it's like, I guess I have to take what you give me.
That's right. It's real
Oh, lord.
foolish on my part.
It's funny, Jake, watching back these clips, I'm like, "Man, this is some really good shit and some great promos and big stars." It's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be exciting." So I was a little surprised when you said, like, "Yeah, I'm not super looking forward to talking about this." Now it's starting to come together a little bit. How would you compare Jim Jr. to Bill Watts or Stu Hart as a promoter? Maybe not you don't like him as a dude, but just his promoting abilities.
I I thought he lacked a lot.
Mm,
He didn't know wrestling. He just he had a group of guys. He let them do everything. Flair and Wahoo and Ole. They told him what to do, and he did it.
okay.
You know, so somebody new coming in is going to have a hard line to pull because you don't have a spot.
So that's
You
something that
know?
we heard about Eric Bischoff a lot during the
Yeah,
WCW days was that,
yeah,
he didn't really know a ton about wrestling. So he was reliant on some of the boys, like, hey, is this
right,
a good idea or is this a bad idea? And
right.
invariably, the boys are just going to position themselves well when they get asked those questions.
That's it. That's the
Okay.
same thing that happened there with Crockett.